Get up, get a little exercise, stand up. Come on, let's move down to this area because you don't want to miss this. All right, you want to get close enough that you can actually glean some wonderful information that you won't ever forget. Thank you. In about 30 seconds, I'm going to introduce our fantastic clinicians. So if you can get seated as quickly, as quietly as possible. Thank you. Come on in. All the seats are good. Just come on in and sit down. Thank you for moving down. You'll thank me later. I'll introduce our rhythm section first. These are some of our students from our award-winning UNLV Jazz Studies program. Patrick Hogan on piano, Molly Redfield on bass, Michael Hoffman on cell phone and drums. Okay, great. Yeah, that's not a good thing. I know it was for this. I trust you. They wouldn't dare do it if it wasn't something important for this. So. But you want to turn those things off in those recording sessions, right, students? If you get a call for one of those crazy shows, like this Family Guy thing, you know. I think I know who the piano. I know the piano player is. Anyway, okay. So he's next. He's going to get the gig next. So anyway, thank you for coming this afternoon. You're in for an incredible experience here with our 3 outstanding clinicians, and you'll really want to pay attention and go back with some valuable information and the true jazz spirit that all of you have. Are you guys got to leave or something? Okay, all right, I knew there's a reason for it. So I'm going to introduce our wonderful clinicians. I want to remind you about the concert tonight. We have an outstanding soloist, sometimes 2 from each high school performing ensemble. We're going to ask the soloist to come back at 5:15 and go over, rehearse the song you're going to play, improvise on with our award-winning Latin jazz ensemble led by Uli Geisendorfer, and you'll be playing with Chris Crenshaw and also Julius Tolentino tonight. That's at 7 o'clock, and we'll be, and then tomorrow night at 7 o'clock with our Monterey award-winning UNLV Jazz Ensemble 1, and with Kenny Rampton, who is trumpet artist with Whit Marsalis Jazz and Lincoln Center Orchestra. And I was joking around about the Family Guy and the TV shows. He played for those. Well, he also plays for Sesame Street. So I know you're probably that's not your thing now, but I love that show myself. It's a great show. So anyway, let me introduce without further ado our 3 incredible clinicians, and they will take it from here. Kenny Rampton, Chris Crenshaw, and Julius Tolentino. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming out and hanging out and being a part of this inaugural festival. I'm so excited and happy to see all of you. This is amazing, and it makes my mom real happy. So I owe you all. We were presented last minute with an opportunity where we can play a little bit for you guys and give you a little workshop, masterclass, whatever you want to call it. We're going to play some Duke Ellington Strayhorn for you, stay in the tradition of this festival, and play a little bit of that music and talk about it. I want to talk a little bit about Duke and what he did, how he pioneered jazz music in the way he orchestrated things, and we're going to get to a couple different songs, and I want to do a Q&A with you guys. So I want you all to start to think about questions you're going to have for us. I'm so happy to be here and be with these incredible musicians. They've been introduced already, but we've got the incredible Chris Crenshaw on the trombone. Give it up for Chris. It's been an honor and a joy for me to get to know him and to get to play with him at Lincoln Center Jazz Orchestra, or Jazz and Lincoln Center Orchestra, excuse me. And man, Chris has got perfect pitch, and some of you may have that perfect pitch. I personally don't, but it's an incredible gift. But on top of that, I've never met anybody before with perfect time. Chris has got perfect time. You can say, Chris, can you tap out 183 on the metronome? And He's an unbelievable musician. And beyond that, he's one of the nicest people you'd ever hope to meet. He's a gentleman who's of the highest of integrity at all times. I've never heard him say a bad thing about another person, and I've never heard him even curse. He's just a great person and a great presence. So it's an honor to have Chris here. So again, Chris Crenshaw. On the alto saxophone, Mr. Julius Tolentino. Now, I asked Julius a couple days ago, did he play clarinet? Because I wasn't even sure. We haven't actually played together a whole lot. We have played together a bit. I know him mostly as an educator. He's one of the top high school jazz educators. I didn't even say high school. One of the top jazz educators in the country, if not the world. He's got two programs specifically that I'll mention that he works with in the New York area. They're both in New Jersey. There's the Newark Academy, which is one of the top programs in the country, and also another program that's run by a gentleman who's an ex-roommate of mine, a great bass player, some of you may know, named Christian McBride. Christian started a program called the Jazz House Kids. Julius directs those kids, that high school program. He's an incredible educator. And as I got to know him, I've known about him for a long time, and started to hear him play, and I started to work with his kids at his program, and realized he plays with his kids, and he is an absolutely world-class alto saxophone player, top of his field. He could play with anybody. He studied with Jackie McLean. He is phenomenal. He's also just the nicest guy. He's got a young son I gave a trumpet lesson to recently, incredibly gifted young man. He's 12 years old. And his son is just like his dad. He's going to be a very serious musician. But I can't thank these guys enough for being here with me, being part of our inaugural, essentially Ellington Regional. So Julius Tolentino, give it up for Julius. And the rhythm section, I just need to know these guys, Molly on bass, right? And Patrick on the piano, and tell me your name. Michael on the drums. We're just getting to know each other. So this is our first time playing together. I played with those two last night, played a tune, and Patrick and I have done a couple things together now. But thank you guys for being here. Let's give it up for the rhythm section too. So I think we need to start things off with Billy Strayhorn's classic, Take the A Train. Thank you very much. Billy Strayhorn, take the A Train. We're going to continue now with a piece by Duke. It's kind of when we play this with a band, he calls it a classic of classics. I believe it was written in the 30s. You know the year it was written, Chris? It was written in 1930. Duke arranged it, rearranged it, depending on who was in the band. They changed it up a lot. He experimented with orchestration with this particular song many, many times. And I think Duke was the first one to do this. He kind of changed the concept of how a lot of jazz music was orchestrated. And so we're going to use this as an example of just one thing, one of the many incredible things that Duke Ellington did. And I mean, he was so innovative and so creative in what he did and what he brought to this music and the things that he created. It was just phenomenal. This is Duke Ellington's classic, Mood Indigo. If any of you know this song, it's an absolutely gorgeous song. And if you've ever checked out early jazz, traditionally the front line for a lot of the early jazz music was clarinet, trumpet, and trombone. And it always had the clarinet way up high and the trombone down low and the trumpet in the middle. And so I want to use this as an example to kind of show you one of the things that Duke did in experimenting with orchestration and with this particular song, with Mood Indigo. So we're going to play the first, just with the horns, the first 4 bars. And we're going to invert the voicing with the clarinet on the top, and the trombone way down low, and the trumpet in the middle, kind of the traditional voicing what was being used in jazz in those days. So we're going to play the first 4 bars. Something that had never been done before that I'm aware of. He took the clarinet part and he put it down on the bottom. He made the clarinet the bottom voice, put it down 2 octaves. And he took the trombone and he moved that up up 2 octaves and changed up the voicing, and it created this sound. Very different sound, right? You all hear the difference when you change up for the voicing. Now with that like it is, it's a little hard to hear the clarinet. With the brass, we're a little too loud for the clarinet to really carry and be heard that well. So the next thing he did to it is he added mutes to the brass. And it wasn't just your standard cut mute, which was kind of the standard mute of the day, or straight mute. He took one of these mutes. Now, some of you know this already, but this is called a pixie mute. This is one of the original pixie mutes. This is from that era, from the 20s. This was a old Kahn cornet mute that used to come in the cornet cases. When somebody would buy a cornet, it would come with a mute. This was the mute that it came with. It's really small, it's for cornet. For the trumpet, it fits way inside the bell because it's so small. So they actually had to pad the cork a little bit to make it play in tune. But it created a very different kind of a sound. And with a mute that small inside the bell, then you could use a plunger over the top of that mute to create a whole new sound. And the Duke's Band was the first band that I'm aware of that used this particular mute combination to create this sound, and it created a very unique, haunting sound. And if you think about the name of the song, Mood Indigo, what does that mean? Mood, that's the kind of mood you're in. Indigo, what is indigo? It's a color. It's a kind of a blue. So what does it mean if you're in a blue mood? You're sad. But indigo is a much more descriptive color than just blue. So there's so much beauty in the color indigo. It's elegance within sadness. So Mood Indigo is such a beautiful title. And so when Duke added these mutes to this melody, it created a whole different kind of sound that really evokes that kind of emotion. Now, this is one of the original ones, and these are tricky to play with. They don't play well in tune, especially in the lower register. So this is something that I started using a couple of years ago. This is actually a straight mute made for E flat or D cornet, or trumpet, E flat, D cornet, using classical music. And I started using this, and it fits, and it's small enough where I can play with a plunger over it, and it actually projects a little bit better than the original one for me, and plays a little bit better in tune. So I'm going to use this one. But I wanted to show you the original because I think it's cool.
And for the trombone players out there, this is the standard. This mute is the standard pixie mute that's used for trombone players, Humes and Berg, that they use now, and gets a nasally sound out of the trombone. But what Tricky Sam Nancy used to use back in the 20s and 30s and 40s was actually a trumpet straight mute from France. It's a non-chorale. It's what's called a non-chorale mute. And that's what Tricky Sam used to get his sound to come out. And this particular mute was made in 1929. And I also had to get it up before, thanks to Mr. Ramsey, hooked me up so I can get my sound out of it that I need to get out. And it's really, really cool sounds. You can get many different types of sounds, even out of the trumpet, as well as the trombone too. So it's not for real right here without using for this tune. Very, very, very high and unforgiving.
I want to play that example for you guys one more time so we hear with open horn versus with the mutes. So you hear what a difference, what a drastic difference this makes. takes it to another level, and you can really get into the mood Indigo. So with no further ado, we're going to play for you Mood Indigo. We're gonna stand around the mic if that's okay with our sound engineer, the three of us. Thank you. That takes a lot of breath control to be able to play that. So I want to open it up for questions, man. Do you guys have any questions for us about what we do? Chris and I tour the world together with Winton, with Jazz and Lincoln Center Orchestra. We get to do all kinds of projects all year round. I don't know if you're aware of what we do at Jazz and Lincoln Center, but it's set up it's very similar to the way they set up the season for like the New York Philharmonic, where we have a season every year with a set of programs that we do. We rehearse brand new music. We play old music from the beginning of jazz up to brand new modern stuff. We do all kinds of different things. We work with musicians from Pakistan, from all over the world, playing world music, really odd metered stuff, completely modern, brand new things. Chris has brought in, he's been commissioned to write pieces for the orchestra, to write suites. He brought in a piece, God's Trombones, that we played. He was commissioned to do. It was an incredible original work that Chris wrote. We do all kinds of projects like that, always bringing in new things in addition to exploring the music of Duke Ellington and Chick Webb and like the things that we do with the Central Ellington Festival. It's a very unique gig. It's a great gig. It's a lot of fun, and we get to do what we love and tour the world, working with a lot of kids. We're getting ready to do a tour next week. We're going to Europe for I think a 5-week or so tour, starting in Vienna, and we're going to go to Poland and France and Germany. We're ending up in London. We're going to do I think a 5-day residency at the Barbican Theatre in London. And we're bringing with us the Jazz Lincoln Center Youth Orchestra. We're going to work with them along with some youth orchestras from the UK. And it's really a great gig. It's a lot of fun. And we get to play all kinds of new and old music, which I love. I love doing a wide variety of stuff. In a couple months, I think it's in March, we're doing a West Coast tour. Unfortunately, won't be playing in Vegas. We'll be in California, touring up through California and other places with Chick Corea, which is going to be great to get to play with Chick again. We've done several things with him already. We've recorded with him. The CD hasn't come out yet. I don't know when they're going to put it out, but we did record a CD with Chick with the Jazz Lincoln Center Orchestra. So we've got all kinds of things that we do. My favorite thing that we do is Essentially Ellington. And I don't know if any of you have been out to the Essentially Ellington Festival in New York yet, but I know many of you are working towards that, and I've worked with some of your bands. I know quite a few of you guys already, and I hope to see you guys elevate your level and come and send in recordings and come out to New York and work with us there, because I tell you, that festival is so wonderful and it's so great to be able to do that and see so many kids. I see lives being changed every year, and kids who come to that, they make friends with other kids who are serious musicians like themselves from around the country, and I see them all coming to New York, attending the Juilliard School or Manhattan School of Music or the New School, and forming groups there, and then graduating college and then forming their own quintets and playing at Smalls Jazz Club or at Dizzy's, different clubs around New York, and it's just an amazing, life-changing event for so many kids. And I'm just so glad to be able to bring that festival to you here in Las Vegas, and I'm so happy to see so many kids involved in it and working on this music, and I hope you all strive to come out to New York and be part of the festival there, because it's an incredible thing, and that's my favorite thing that I do. And man, I've toured the world with all kinds of people and done a lot of things, and far above everything else is the Essentially Ellington Festival, just because I see how it affects people. I see how it changes lives, and that's what it's about. That's what music's about, right? It's about affecting people. I remember when I was your age and I started playing, it was about me. It was about my ego. It was about getting attention. I realized I was good at it. I could get attention. I could make friends. I could meet a girlfriend because I played trumpet good or whatever. It was about me and my own ego when I was your age. And as I got older, I started to realize that through playing music, I can actually affect people listening to me in a positive way and help them to get through hardships. I've seen that. I've had people approach me in tears after I played. It's like, man, why are you crying? I sound that sad? I said, no, man, you don't understand. I came to this club, and my girlfriend just dumped me. I was depressed, and I heard you guys playing. It just changed my vibe, and I'm so happy. This guy came up in tears of joy, and that's what it's about, is playing music to make a difference in people's lives. I see the music as part of the healing arts, and we can affect people in a positive way through playing music. So it went from being about me and my own ego to being about you and hopefully affecting other people in a positive way. So essentially, Ellington Festival is all about that. It's a celebration of Duke Ellington. It's not a competition. It's not about winning anything. It's about the process. You know, it's about making the friends in the band that you guys are in. You all work hard together. You create bonds that are lifelong bonds. And that's what the music is about. You know, so enjoy the process of learning this music play. I love that, man. These guys got their arms around each other, man. You know, that's what it's about. It's about creating friendships that last a lifetime. And it's about raising your vibration. It's about raising your consciousness, raising your awareness, making the world a better place through music. And that's what we do. That's what we hope to do. That's what we strive to do. And that's what the Essentially Ellington Festival is all about. So I'm so glad to be able to bring that here to Las Vegas. And thank you to Dave Loeb for having us and for creating this with me and with Jazz Lincoln Center. So with all that said, do you guys have any questions? Let's start with some questions. None of you got any questions? Come on now. I see somebody trying to put their hand up over there. No? Yeah. I'm still working at it. It never ends. I mean, I'm 50 years old, so it's taken me 50 years. And I've got a long way to go. That's one of the beauties of music, is the better you get at it, just like anything that you do, the better you get at it, the more you start to understand and realize the journey never ends. There's always room for improvement. There's always room for growth. I had a great trumpet teacher named Victor Paz, who I studied with. Victor one time, it sounds a little crazy, but he went to a lesson with him. He said, "Kenny, do you practice with a metronome with a click or the light on your metronome?" And I said, "I practice with a click." He said, "No, you got to practice with the light." I said, "Why?" He said, "Because the speed of light is faster than the speed of sound." Which sounds a little bit crazy, but it's true. It's true. And if you raise your awareness to that level, where you can distinguish the difference of the speed of light versus the speed of sound, your entire being is raised to another level. And that's what it's about. It's about raising your consciousness. It's about raising your awareness. And Victor was a great teacher. So, you know, it's taken me 50 years to get to the point where I'm at. And I got a long way to go. So the better I get, the more I see there's always room for improvement. So, yeah, I don't know if that answers your question or not. That's my answer. Yeah.
So, I know especially in jazz, a lot of times people talk about how the jazz music, it gets a lot of, I'm sort of where you don't like being like a technical musician, like doing the music. I don't know.
It's both. You guys want to chime in at all? Julius, Chris? Yeah, come on.
Yeah, it's definitely both. You have to have a mixture of both. I came into Valdosta State as a jazz major, and I think the first lesson that I got was actually on I forget which A2 book it was, but it was not a jazz lesson. And so I came in kind of frustrated. Well, I came out of it kind of frustrated. I was like, man, I'm a jazz major. What am I doing playing this stuff? This isn't gonna help me. And then next lesson I came in, I had a C. Why? Because I didn't prepare and I didn't take it seriously. And so next lesson I came in prepared with the mindset that said, yeah, you're gonna need to know how to play the horn in general. No matter what style you play in, you're gonna have to learn how to play your instrument as well as you can play it, so you'll be able to open up more windows for yourself. Whether it's jazz, whether it's classical, whether it's rock, whether it's R&B, whatever it is. You know, you have to be able to just know what the horn can do. You know, the partials, the tone, the tuning, what it can and cannot do, the range of it. And that's in all instruments as well. I mean, if you're learning up a new instrument, you got to learn it as it's your master instrument and not a secondary or a double. You know, so take it as seriously as you can take it. Learn as much as you can with it, and then the opportunities will follow soon after. You know, and technically, yeah, you could be technically proficient, but technical minus soul or hearing or whatever it is, that other side of it, that's half of you. So if you take away that soul side, or you take away that technical side, that's a part of you that's missing. You need all of yourself to get to the next level, you know? You understand? Got it? Cool. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
So, looking back when you were growing up, when you were shooting anything, is there anything that you would say you had to should have done sooner, or you were afraid of doing, or not doing, or you really think like you did choose where you are now? So that's really how you really goes off.
You know, for me, I started playing piano pretty young, and went on to the clarinet and then the saxophone, and I think by freshman, sophomore year, I realized that I wanted to do this for a living. And I had great teachers in high school, throughout high school, but not until I got with Jack McLean in college that I realized that how I really needed to develop my ears. So I guess I don't have any regrets because, you know, everything's led up to this point, you know, and I'm very happy with what I'm doing right now with music. But with my students, I do enforce that you really work on your ears. And Chris has got incredible ears, Kenny's got incredible ears. And, you know, it's taken me a long time to just kind of hang with my ears. So actually, after I graduated college, I studied 2 years with a ear training teacher, paying a lot of money, living in New York and scuffling along, and paying that money every week to develop my ears. And I kind of came up with a way of teaching it as well. And that's, you know, it's one of the reasons I'm successful with the teaching, because I've kind of gone through a lot of troubles as far as trying to get to that level. And I feel like, you know, because I've gone through those, you know, troubles, that I've been able to teach it pretty well. But ears, work on your ears, work on singing, work on transcribing. And I suggest students don't write things down. It's okay if you forget it, just go back. It's the exercise, it's the process. It's the process. And I know there's a lot of students here that probably might not go into music, right? A lot of us, but there's some of us that maybe more than a handful of us that are really serious and they're thinking about a career now in music. But this music it's incredible. I mean, I've seen it change lives of students that have gone on to be doctors and lawyers. It's the process of learning this music. It's going to teach you how to be better people. It's going to teach you how to listen. It's going to teach you how to focus. All right? There's so many things that you can learn from studying something really, really intently. And jazz music is probably one of the best things you could do for your mind, definitely.
Yeah, along the lines with what Julius was saying. You know, this music, like you said, not all of us are going to become professional musicians, and that's okay. What we learn from this music, it's a profound discipline, you know, and it teaches us problem solving. It teaches us empathy. It teaches us how to work with others. It teaches us on so many levels, and ultimately when we follow that process of learning these instruments and learning this music, it teaches us about ourselves. Who are we? What kind of person am I going to be? And it makes us more useful members of society. It makes us better people. So, you know, it doesn't matter if we become professional musicians or not. What we learn is us and how to be better people in the process of learning anything. The profound discipline of learning these instruments. And, you know, there are case studies where it's proven that young people who study music do better in all fields in school, in math, in language, because music encompasses all of that. It encompasses math, of course it does. Language, it's physical, it deals with everything, you know, and they've done studies of kids and musicians' brains, you know, and everything is lighting up when somebody's improvising, playing jazz music in particular, because it's so creative-minded, and at the same time, it's so intellectual. You know, it deals with all aspects of, like somebody asked about, like the technical aspects versus, you know, being expressive, I guess was kind of how we put it, right? Something to that effect. It deals with all of that, and ultimately, when you grow, you know, get older, and you have to make really difficult life decisions, you know, you're going to come to a point where, like, I don't know what I should do, and you got to ask yourself, well, do my heart and my mind agree? And if your heart and your mind agree on something, then that's what you need to do, you know. And sometimes it's a life and death situation. Sometimes it's very difficult, but that's what we learn through the music, you know. And when we play this music, it's all about the heart and mind being in agreement. So it takes us to another level. So do I have any regrets? Absolutely not. Every moment of my life has brought me here today. in front of you guys. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. I had an incredible education growing up in this town. I went to Garside Junior High School, Bonanza High School, went to school here at UNLV. Played on this stage when I was in college. I can't even count how many times, you know, and had great instructors. Frank Gagliardi was the director of the jazz ensemble here. Walt Blanton was my trumpet teacher. My first trumpet teacher was Tommy Perello. My dad was a musician, played on the Strip. My dad played with Frank Sinatra. He toured with Elvis Presley. And, you know, because of my mom, and my mom's a great musician. She studied to be a concert pianist. She was a piano teacher and played in the church, played organ. She taught me how to read music. So when I was a little kid, I used to go sit on the bench, the organ, and she taught me to read music so I could help turn pages for her. So I had an incredible education because of my parents, first and foremost, and because of growing up in this town, because I got exposed to a lot of great music and great artists, musicians, who settled down here in Las Vegas, you know, left the Count Basie Orchestra. The person I was actually named after is Kenny Hing, who was a tenor saxophone player, played with the Count Basie Orchestra. He was here in town. There's so many great musicians who settled here in Las Vegas, and I just got an incredible education growing up in this town, man. So, man, I wouldn't trade that for anything, man. I really don't have any regrets. I could look back and see, yeah, I could have done this better, I could have done that better. But it's not a regret, it's an observation. And that helps me in the future. You know, so I don't actually believe in regrets. I think it's better to, you know, if you have regrets and you haven't really learned your lesson, you know, you gotta own your mistakes and learn from them and grow from them so you don't make them again. So regrets, no, you know. That's something that I learned from this, man, from playing this music. I don't know if that answers your question or not. Yeah. I can't hear you. You speak up. How do you project your sound while having a good tone? You play trumpet? Breathe. You say yes or no? He plays saxophone. Well, should a saxophone player answer that question?
Actually, Wynton says this a lot. You know, you want to create a pretty sound soft and reproduce that sound big. You know, breathing down. A lot of times when I realize things don't have good sounds because I'm not breathing correctly. Breathing from the diaphragm. If you're not breathing from your diaphragm, maybe lie on your back in a sit-up position, and that will give you. For some reason, when you lie on your back, it's very easy to separate the chest air from the diaphragm here. Once you do that, I had to do that. I had an old school teacher that studied with Joe Allen, so he made me do that for like months. And I had to lie on my back and get the breathing thing, and which, you know, test me every lesson. But it's second nature to me. That's how I breathe all the time. That's what you want to do. Get the breath down low breath, and then create a pretty sound, soft. Just try to get that same sound, and have an idea, a concept of sound. You know, I've always had a concept of sound very young. I loved Cannonball and Phil Woods as a kid, so I was like, that was the sound I was trying to emulate as a kid. You know, I just try to get that sound. I would do long tones along with him playing whatever stars fell in Alabama. Just isolate one note and get that sound in my head. So have that concept, breathe low, and start soft and get loud.
And also work on being able to control whatever sound that you want to have. You know, a lot of players I grew up with played with a lot of vibrato. You know, a lot of this thing happening going on. And even singing. You know, they sang with it so much, but the older that they got, it was harder to control. You know, because they've been doing it for so long and they can't cut it off. You know, so they grow up, you know, they can still use it, but it's out of control to the point where it's almost a tremolo. It's like, So you want to be able to control that, you know. So you also play with a straight tone. Try to know how to play with a straight tone, as well as adding the vibrato so you can control it. I think Clark Terry had Miles Davis play with a straight tone. Because they were teaching a student. You knew that, right? Clark Terry and Miles Davis. was a mentor, Clark was a mentor of Miles. And so he would have him play with a straight tone first, you know, and that's pretty much the tone that a lot of the guys play with. Folks like Miles, like J.J. Johnson. Most of the time they play with a straight tone. He and Lee Morgan too. Lee Morgan was really, really great at controlling what he wanted to do. He could play with a straight tone, but he could also add the vibrato when he needed to. So being able to control and make choices to what you can do, like you said, playing soft and playing loud, you know, be able to have that choice. That's one thing Wycliffe taught me when I got to Juilliard, and I've been knowing Wycliffe for a long time. We live 45 minutes apart in terms of hometowns. But when I got to a lesson one time, he asked me a question. He said, "Are you doing that? Are you doing that yourself, or are you doing that by habit?" I said, "Well, I guess I'm doing this by habit." It was something well along the lines. I had a split in my sound. You know, I had like two tones going on at the same time, but I didn't know how I was doing it. And he said, "Well, if you're doing it by choice, then that's cool. But if you're doing it by habit, you need to find out what's causing you to do that. So you have the choice to either make that split tone or have just one consistent tone. So the more that you address your faults, I think the better off that you're going to end up being, as well as, you know, always working on something every day. That's like maintenance work. You know, breathing is a part of that. And how you take your breaths and how you produce your tone. Whether you want it to be nasally, whether you want it to be full, whether you want it to be direct, whether you want it to have a punch to it, or whether you want it to sneak in. You have those choices and options. It's just up to you to work on them. Any other questions? I was fortunate enough to be able to do both kind of at the same time. And I started playing piano when I was 3, just by ear, you know, just hearing a song on the radio and playing it back, you know, just figuring it out like that. So I had that side of it, even to the point where I was teaching people like that, you know. It's kind of like street knowledge, what they call it, you know. Like, you do this, and if you do this, you come in here, you come in there. So I had the informal way of arranging. So once I got in 6th grade, that's the first time well, not really the first time, like 3rd, maybe 4th grade, when we started learning notes like every good boy does, mind and face and all that, committing that to heart. And then, and also bass club. Reading, you know, it comes it comes to people differently. You know, some people may not catch on to it at first, but I was at the point where I had perfect pitch. So I was able to put the note with what I saw. You know, I could hear the note, I can hear an E, but then it's just recognizing it on the paper. You know, I could hear what a B flat was, but it's just recognizing it on the paper. It's just like putting 2 and 2 together, you know. So yeah, the reading comes at different paces for everybody. But as long as you're, you know, trying to read something every day, that's one thing that we did in big bands and in concert bands. We sight read something every day. Like, we looked at something new every day and looked at the shape. If you really didn't get the notes, at least get the shape. You know, that's what a lot of fast tempos, a lot of guys don't really concentrate on the note, they concentrate on the shape. How it goes up and down, you know, where the accent is, where the rhythm is. But most of the time, when you're reading, you really want to focus on your rhythm first. It's rhythm, then melody, and then harmony. You know, it's what's going on, and then the horizontal aspect and the vertical aspect. Can I answer your question a little bit? Kind of, sort of? Yeah, but just keep at it, man. You know, some of the stuff is the ad-libs will come. What instrument do you play? I figured that. You're a drummer, right? So you got to know the tune from top to bottom, no matter what. You got to know the lyrics, you got to know the harmonies, you got to know the melodies, you got to know where the accents are, when to bring the band in, when to make the band soft. You're the conductor. You're basically the conductor of the band. And the more that you know harmonies, the better off musician that you're going to end up being. I played with a drummer, Kenny met him, I have a group called the Georgia Horns, and this guy named Brandon McCrae. He played with Music Soul Child for a second. he's a minister now, but he's played with all the great gospel artists. But he started out playing organ, and he played piano too, and keyboards. And that's the first time I met him. He was playing keyboards and organs and things of that nature. He was 14, right? Preacher's kid. But he grew up playing the drums too, so he has a sense of harmony, and he has a sense of where, you know, where the tune is going, just because of, you know, what he can facilitate on here. You know, most musicians have to have a facility on piano anyway to be able to, you know, go on to the next level. So the more that you can get on the piano and do those things and reading at the same time, the better off that you're gonna be. And most of the years, these past few years, I've been putting in chord changes for drummers as well in the essentially Ellington parts. I've been transcribing them for the last 3 or 4 years, and Ali Jackson was a proponent for putting chord changes in the parts, just so you won't just see slashes, slash, 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 slash all day and don't know what to do. If you have a sense of we know where you're going with the harmony, then you can be just as in tune as the bass. And you know, we can start here where the G minor 7 is, or where the 2 is, or where the 5 is, or where the 1 or the 6, or whatever, however it is you can figure your stuff out. Yeah, make sense? Cool.
Yeah, obviously lots of listening. What instruments do you play? Guitar. So what are some of your favorite guitarists, jazz guitarists? James Trillo, that's great. He's a great musician. So, you know, find a solo that you really love of James's, you know, something that you can already sing. But the thing is, like, if that's, the problem is if that's too hard, you know, sometimes that happens where you're listening to something, maybe you can't really sing every note. You know, try and find some solos that might have a little less notes that you can really sing in melodic, or even if they're just melodies, you know, that will help you. You have to understand this music is a language. That's what I learned from Illinois Duquette and from Jack McLean. That's the concept that I teach with, is that the music is a language, and that you have to learn this language and speak it before you're really improvising at that level. You know, so studying solos and taking sequences that you like and putting them through the 12 keys and getting familiar with all your keys, and, you know, when you hear, it gets to a point where you're not just thinking of lines, but when you're just hearing colors and you're just reacting to the colors. That's what you want to ultimately get to, just sing what's going on in your head, you know?
I always recommend to people, in fact I spoke with somebody yesterday about it, choose your favorite player, your favorite recording of that player, your favorite record, your favorite song on that record, and learn that solo, note for note. Listen to it, make sure you can sing it, and that's where you start learning how to improvise, is by listening, opening up your ears, and learning the language. It starts with one solo. I remember my first lesson in improvisation was actually with a guitar player right here in Las Vegas named Hap Smith, who's still in town, still teaching. In fact, I talked to him a couple weeks ago. And he had me transcribe Miles Davis solo on All Blues. That's the first solo I ever transcribed. And then once I transcribed it, and by transcribing, I didn't actually write it down at first. I learned it by ear. I could sing along with it, then I learned to play along with it. And in playing along with it, I also learned the nuance that he played with, certain notes that he would bend, the way he would shape things, and you get an overall picture of the story he's telling through his solo. Because it's not about the notes, it's about how the notes are played and what they're saying. It's telling a story, you know, so first and foremost. So that's how he had me start, and then had me write it down. And once I was able to notate it, I wrote the chords above it, and then I could see the relationship to the chords, like the melodies that he created. And then he had me choose my favorite, he said, choose my favorite lick from the solo. So we all know what a lick is, right? It's a phrase, a short phrase. So I chose that one lick. Then he said, okay, now take that one lick and play it in every key, learn it in every key, you know, and then you start to do that with the next lick, and then the next solo. And when you start listening to music, then all of a sudden, hey, that Miles Davis record, who's that alto saxophone player? It's, oh man, Cannonball Adderley. I gotta check him out too, which led me to John Coltrane. You know, and it just opens up a whole new world once you start, but you gotta start by picking one. So pick your favorite recording. If your favorite guitar player is James Shirillo, your favorite recording that James has done, your favorite solo that he's done, learn it by ear first. Don't ever go out, and buy a book, for trumpet players, buy like Clifford Brown transcription book. Don't do that. Then you're not doing yourself any favor. You're actually you're trying to take a shortcut, and you don't learn the lessons that you need to learn. So you got to learn those notes. You got to listen to it, be able to sing it, and then be able to play it with the nuance and the feeling, and understand the story that they're telling. Because that's what jazz music is. We tell stories when we play. We communicate. It's about communication. It's about sharing something with somebody. And once you get the feeling of it, then write down the notes so you can analyze it and learn from it on that level. But that's how I always encourage people to start to learn, is by transcribing. A good friend of mine, a great trombone player named Conrad Herwig. I've done a lot of master classes and clinics with Conrad, and Conrad was a student of Clark Terry's, and he has a whole system, which I can't remember verbatim what it is, but it starts with imitation. And that's where you got to start. You got to study the music. You got to listen to it. You got to be able to sing it, and check out the masters and learn the language, because it is certainly it's a language you need to know and understand in order to be able to express yourself. Just like speaking. If I couldn't speak English, I could not express myself to you guys today. But I talk okay English, so I can speak to you. It's the same thing with music. Does that help? Okay. We need to get going, Dave. The next band ready to come on? Okay. I think we've got to close it up. Thank you guys for hanging. Okay, we're going to play one quick one. One quick one. We didn't rehearse it. That was going to be a drum solo on the bridge, but we didn't know that. Thank you all for coming and hanging out. I hope you got some out of this. We're going to continue now with the next band. Dave Loeb, you got it, man.
Jenny Hampton, Chris Crenshaw, George Tolentino, Michael Hoffman, Molly Whitfield, and Patrick Carter of piano, UNLV. Jazz students.